I think consumption and the fixed investment was not as bad as we expected, mainly because already there was a significant drop in the consumption and the business activities last year. But in the meanwhile, the drop in export was much greater than I expected. So overall, I think the Japanese economy is really in a very bad shape.
What then does the second quarter look like? That's, of course, been the million-dollar question for everyone right around the world. How bad will the second quarter print? And we were just running through some of those expectations, which suggested it could be a contraction in the order of 22%. What do you think?
That's possible. Definitely above minus 10%. Mainly because of this state of emergencies declared by the government was extended to the May. Also, small cities, they started to start the economic activities, but a major city like Tokyo, still the state of emergency continue until end of this month. So because of that, almost all economic activities stopped. So we expect that the decline in the scale of 15 to 20% in the April-June quarter is possible.
How quickly do you anticipate that the Japanese economy would be able to recover and bounce back? Would there be a V-shaped recovery? Of course, another point that we've been discussing with a lot of people about what the post-COVID-19 world does in fact look like.
So compared to the United States and Europe, Japan didn't have a lockdown. And then we didn't have a huge number of people infected by COVID-19, and the number of people who died is limited. So from this angle, I think the damage to the Japanese economy was not, in terms of lockdown, was not as significant as what's happening in Europe and United States. But having said that, because that many people haven't been infected by the COVID-19 means that there is a possibility that we might get infected in the future. So there are a lot of concerns in Japan that we haven't get enough tests yet. And so people are really worried about this, this infection, and the social distance continues. So I think economic recovery will start to take place from June, but it's very slow.
Record stimulus coming out of the Abe government as well to prop up the economy. Clearly, though, that's not going to be enough if we're suggesting that there will be a 22% correction or contraction in the second quarter. Does the government need to spend more money, and how much more?
Yes, so government is considering a small increase in the budgetary measures very soon, and primarily giving a cash to the student. But I think that's not enough because the private sector's activity is so weak. And so only the government and central bank can help in this area. So probably, I think for a while, the government needs to continue to increase the spending, probably 1 to 2 years.
What about the Bank of Japan? How much more can it realistically do?
So Bank of Japan's monetary easing this time, since the COVID-19 was very limited compared to the Federal Reserve and the ECB. And what they did is they increased the amount of stock purchases for temporarily, and they also increased the special lending program to the commercial bank. But at this moment, commercial banks are not willing to extend credit to the small companies because they are worried about the credit risk. So I think Bank of Japan have to do much more to provide more subsidized lending to the commercial bank so that they are willing to extend more loans to the small, medium enterprises. At this moment, Bank of Japan is very reluctant to take risks, but I think they have to do much more.
What about expanding the asset buying program? We know that they extended that into things like ETFs. Do you see that being expanded out as well?
Yeah, so they double this maximum ETF purchases from 6 trillion yen to the 12 trillion yen in March. So they are buying on a monthly basis 1 trillion yen each in March and April. So at this moment, only Bank of Japan is a major buyer of stocks. But in Japan, most of households do not buy do not buy stocks. Only 10% out of total financial assets are allocated to the stocks. So the impact of stock purchases on the Japanese economy is very limited.